There was once a guy named Aaron who everyone in his whole town genuinely believed was the most dedicated dream chaser you could ever possibly find. His alarm clock would go off every single morning right around 5 a.m., signaling the determined start of his relentless, self-imposed grind. He'd immediately pour a cup of incredibly bitter black coffee, a necessary ritual he never allowed himself to skip before beginning his day. Then, Aaron would stand before the mirror and firmly repeat his powerful personal mantra out loud to steel his resolve for the day ahead. He confidently declared, "Success is absolutely mine. I am definitely going to rise up and conquer every single challenge before me." Aaron religiously followed every single piece of conventional success advice that was constantly being preached in the professional world around him. That meant working harder than anyone else in the room, significantly cutting down on his precious sleep time, and constantly making tough personal sacrifices. He truly believed that this intense, non-stop dedication was the only viable path forward, and for a significant period, it absolutely paid off in massive ways. Welcome to Level 1, which we can easily call the rocket ride, because that's exactly how Aaron's professional career launched into the stratosphere. Promotion followed promotion in such rapid succession that it was almost too quick for his colleagues to keep accurate track of his ascent. Simultaneously, substantial amounts of money started flowing into his personal accounts from all the right and expected places. People everywhere began praising his undeniable achievements with visible admiration and genuine respect in their voices and gestures. Awards and impressive accolades started stacking up high on his office shelves, creating an undeniably formidable visual display of success. Everyone around him was consistently calling him the next big legend in the making, which was an incredibly heavy and imposing title to have to carry. And naturally, in the midst of all that validation, Aaron completely bought into that exact narrative. Everyone was so enthusiastically selling him about his future. However, as Aaron reached these dizzying new professional heights, something decidedly strange began to subtly creep into his otherwise perfect personal world. The more successful he became in his demanding career, the more noticeably everything else in his private life started to completely fall apart at the seams. He began missing important family dinners entirely, leaving his concerned loved ones waiting alone at the dining room table with cooling food. Important dates, like his closest friends' birthdays, completely slipped his memory until it was far too late to offer any kind of meaningful celebration. He consistently ignored those nagging health alarms. His body was desperately sending him, foolishly pushing far past every single physical limit he possessed. Honestly, Aaron even noticed that his genuine, unrestrained smile had essentially vanished from his face without him consciously realizing the slow loss. Success felt like it was demanding an unspoken, heavy tax that he never ever agreed to pay when he initially embarked on this ambitious journey. Despite all these deepening personal issues, his only immediate response was to stubbornly dig in and push himself even harder than he had before. Then, right at the absolute apex of his phenomenal career, Aaron experienced a sudden, dramatic turning point in his carefully constructed personal narrative. He was presented with what was supposed to be the biggest professional award of his entire life, the famously prestigious Golden Crest of Innovation. Thousands of people in the audience erupted in thunderous applause. The air was thick with the sound of constant camera flashes going off in every direction. For that single, defining moment, Aaron was indisputably the absolute center of the entire professional universe, basked in the glow. But in that very peak moment of ultimate triumph, Aaron experienced a horrifying, hollow feeling of absolutely nothing, resonating deep inside his spirit. That's when the ultimate Uno reverse card was dramatically played by some unseen force of fate, hitting him with undeniable, shocking impact. He suddenly understood the scary truth. He hadn't actually fully become successful, but rather, success itself had completely consumed and taken over his entire being. Everything he had diligently ignored for years suddenly came crashing back into his fragile life with destructive, overwhelming force. His physical health unexpectedly collapsed under the immense and unrelenting strain of the unsustainable choices he had made previously. The very few friendships he managed to hold on to finally faded away completely into silence, leaving him feeling deeply and utterly alone. Every last ounce of simple, everyday joy simply evaporated from his daily existence, leaving behind a vast, empty emotional void. Even his original, deeply motivating life purpose became painfully blurred and almost impossible to define or even remember anymore. The massive empire he so carefully built was materially real and tangible, but Aaron himself was rapidly disappearing inside the cold, imposing walls of it. Level 4 begins now, signaling the unexpected need for a complete and total restart of this whole broken process he was on. One quiet, late night, while staring deeply into his own tired reflection, Aaron finally managed to whisper a crucial, life-altering realization out loud. He admitted softly to the glass, "I spent all my precious energy chasing success, but I somehow completely forgot to chase the actual, authentic person I am." With that profound clarity finally settling in his mind, he decided to intentionally do the total opposite of what everyone in his high-powered industry expected him to do next. Aaron made the shocking announcement that he was officially resigning from his powerful, top-tier executive position with immediate effect. He then immediately bought a one-way ticket and started traveling to see parts of the world he had previously only ever read about in distant books. He dedicated significant, focused time to finally reconnecting with the truly important people he had regrettably neglected for far too many years. He focused intensely on slowly and deliberately healing his mind and body from the deep ravages of years of self-inflicted professional burnout. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to rebuild a completely new life foundation for himself, brick by careful, intentional brick over many months. This rebuilding process wasn't about impressing his old, judgmental colleagues or winning any new round of external applause whatsoever. It was solely and purely about finding that elusive, authentic, vibrant feeling of being truly and completely alive again in the moment. The most ironic twist of fate is that by stepping completely away from that manufactured idea of success, he finally, unexpectedly found the real thing in his life. True success was nowhere to be found in the pile of old dusty awards or the ever-increasing number in his bank account balance. It was certainly not hidden in the deafening roar of another crowd applauding his once dominant presence at all. Instead, he discovered the profound feeling in the quiet comfort of genuine peace of mind that he had been so desperately missing for years. He found it in the deep present company of the few people who truly mattered to the core of his rediscovered soul. Joy began to resurface, beautifully, in the simple, everyday things, like a quiet morning walk or savoring a perfectly brewed cup of tea. He finally achieved a true, beautiful freedom from the crushing, suffocating weight of constant external expectation and pressure from others. Most importantly of all, he successfully rediscovered that essential, original version of himself he had truly thought he had lost forever during the climb. Because in the end, the authentic measure of true success never truly came from relentlessly rising higher and higher into the atmosphere. Ultimately, all that really mattered was found in the brave, quiet, and deliberate act of slowly and finally returning back to the real him.